All right, here we go. Another wonderful pregame show for the wheelchair division of college basketball. This is a special one. This is for
Yeah.
the women's national championship. I am here with the legend, the one and only Ms. Squirrel, Kaitlyn Eaton of Team USA fame. She's opting not to wear a bronze medal. That's okay. And a big superstar with the University of Illinois many, many years ago.
Yeah.
All right. I am, why am I here? That is always a big question. I am Dave Barend. I'm the president of College Basketball Times. And at College Basketball Times, we are unique as we are the only organization, a nonprofit organization, by the way, that attempts to cover all levels of college basketball, every part of college basketball equally, including
Wheelchair basketball.
yes, and
D1.
women. We cover women as well as
Oh,
men, women and men. You forget about women. How you do that, I do not know. That is all right. Yes, we cover women equally, men, and every level, including wheelchair, equally. We try, sometimes equally poorly, but we get the equality part on there. Okay, so are you ready for the big show, Kaitlyn?
I'm ready.
Okay, so now the last few shows we've done like some tongue twisters to try to get us ready, and I
Yep.
have been told by people, including my daughters, that maybe I should offer you something that was created, say, like this century.
Okay.
That might be more helpful to you, and your linguistic, is that the word? Who knows? Abilities. All right. So I will spew here and then you will follow. Are you ready?
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
try.
All right. I've been told that this is something you may know. All right, here we go. Because I've been acting like sour milk on the floor. It's your fault you didn't shut the refrigerator, or maybe that's the reason I've just been acting so cold.
I don't know who told you I might know what that is,
I'll do
but
it again if you want.
yeah, one
Because I've
more
been
time.
acting like sour milk on the floor. It's your fault you didn't shut the refrigerator. Maybe that's the reason I've been acting so cold. Apparently, that is from Ms. Gwen Stefani. She
Okay.
might sound a little better than I do. Oh, she does a little woo, you. Maybe you can do that. Maybe Kaitlyn, can she at least give us a little woo woo?
Woohoo.
That works. All right, all right, all right. I think we're. It turns out that I thought like that song came out like 2 or 3 years ago. It's 17 years old.
Oh,
17 years. So maybe that's why
wow.
you hadn't heard it either. So all right, you gotta bone up on your rap and
Yeah.
apparently your Gwen Stefani. All right.
Yeah. I'll work on it.
Maybe it sounds better when Gwen Stefani sings a little Gwen Stefani than when I do. All right. We are going to start this time with the fan favorite segment of Squirrel Stats. Squirrel. It usually comes
Okay.
later, but we're starting with that. Why?
Perfect.
Because you are the squirrel. First of all, I'd like you to know that I did a little research and I found a top 10 list of squirrels. And
Okay.
sadly and surprisingly, you did not make the top 10. It's a
Dang.
travesty. I'm guessing
Yeah.
you were right at number 11.
Had
Is
to have been. Had to
It
have
had to
been.
have been. Um,
Yeah.
Apparent number one was Scrat from the Ice Age movies. I think that
Oh,
is a
not that
travesty as
one.
well.
Oh.
It surely should have been Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, fair.
There you go.
That's
Well,
fair.
I am impressed. You seem, unless you're faking here, you have heard of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Of course I've heard of
All
Rocky.
right, there we go. See, that was either that or you've decided maybe this will be the show where you don't make me feel so old. That works. All right, so the stats are going to focus on Alabama. Alabama is clearly the team to beat in this
Yes.
tournament. They are ranked number 3 in the entire world of college basketball and College Basketball Times domination rankings. You know where you can find the domination rankings?
I'm gonna guess collegebasketballtimes.com.
Yes, very true. Yes, that is correct. And you will see Alabama's women's team is number 3, third
Wow.
most dominant team in the entire country. So the question to you is, what stat could Alabama possibly falter with? Could they have a problem with? Could their team not possibly excel with? that might allow for the big upset? We come to you, our expert, for that.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. So one, the other teams, what they have to do is they have to make Alabama shoot from outside. When looking at the stats that Alabama is posting, is they're shooting getting almost 40 plus points in the paint, which is incredibly high, especially when you think about them only scoring maybe 70 points a game. So that means 30 points are coming from somewhere else, but the majority of their points are coming from the paint, excuse me. So if other teams can keep them out of the key, they have a much, much higher chance of keeping this game close with Alabama. And I think the other stat that we look at is teams have to capitalize on all of Alabama's turnovers. They have to score when Alabama turns the ball over because they don't do it often. But when they make mistakes, the other team has to capitalize on it. They're such a good team, and they're going to get in the paint at some point. You're not going to keep them out of there every single possession. But if you can capitalize on the mistakes that they do make, then that's going to make for a much tighter game. And when looking at box scores, teams aren't capitalizing on those Alabama turnovers. They might do it 1 or 2 times. They might be getting 2 points off of Alabama's turnovers. But if Alabama turns the ball over 10 times, let's say, they haven't really done it ever 10 times, but maybe 8. That's 16 points we're leaving out there that we're not capitalizing on, right? And so teams have to capitalize when Alabama makes mistakes.
These are some solid points. Now, is there a flip side to this? Is there, or is this essentially just the mirror, the same thing? Is there a stat that the other teams need to improve, need to really hit upon, need to excel if they're going to have any chance at beating this powerhouse, this team of domination, the Alabama women's wheelchair team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to mirror this a little bit of, they have to eliminate their turnovers. Alabama is such a good team that they don't make many mistakes. And so you have to make less mistakes than they do. Because Alabama is very good at capitalizing on other teams' turnovers. And so if you can turn the ball over less and limit those points off of turnovers for Alabama, you stand a much bigger chance of keeping the game close with them, especially because they're really good at causing turnovers, and then their entire team is ready to leak. They're ready to get to the basket, and they have an amazing press. Alabama does. They are fast, they're quick, they are really good communicators, and so it's super easy when you cause a turnover in a press to immediately turn it into points. So if we can eliminate any kind of turnovers, especially within a press break, then I think teams are going to stand to be much closer to this Alabama women's team.
I keep noticing the pronoun we. It seems like you're saying it's like the world against Alabama. And you seem to be on the side of the world.
It's not that I'm not Team Alabama over here by any means. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. That's okay. Phone call. She's an important, very popular person.
Yeah.
She gets calls. Even and how nice is it for us that she didn't take the call? That's pretty.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I'm not against Alabama by any means. They are such a good team. If you look at their roster, they have national team member after national team member after national team member, and not just Team USA. They have people from the Great British national team. They have people all over. They have a couple from France, I believe. And so I'm
not Silverman from Israel.
Exactly. They have people from everywhere, and they're all very good. And so,
that
for
was
me,
my contribution to the show, by the way. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always rooting for the underdog. And so I think underdog stories, Cinderella stories are one of the most fun to talk about. And right now, Alabama doesn't have the Cinderella story. They
don't. They do not. They
very
are not
much
the Cinderella.
expected to, kind of walk all over teams at this tournament. And, it's hard to not root for anybody to come and try to disrupt that. So.
Well, there you have it. Squirrel stats from the Squirrel. Now, I know that I have been trying to push you to consider yourself the Squirrel instead of just Squirrel. But I've done some thinking, and that, maybe there are some nicknames, and maybe Squirrel is one of them, where the doesn't work. Like College Basketball Times has the chairman of our board of advisors. His name is Eric Clapprood, and he goes by Clap. And I got to thinking that he probably does not go by the Clap. So
I would hope not. Not.
So maybe the Squirrel. I don't know that it's the same thing, but I do still think you could go by the score, and then maybe that gets you into the top 10.
Might be. We
Could
need
be.
to talk to whoever wrote that article.
Yeah, that's a mistake. All right. So now we move on to the next segment. Big segment here. What to look for, what to watch for, what to look for. Bracket style here. We got
Yes.
our big brackets. So we're gonna break these down. First of all, though, I think we should give a shout out to Cooney, because they aren't able to make the tournament. I did a little investigative research. Apparently, one of their players got hurt. So that, from what my understanding, is why they're not coming. I don't know if you, Kaitlyn, have other information.
I don't. That's actually the first I'm hearing of that, but
I bring something to the show. I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to hear. You never want to see a team not be able to compete because they don't have enough players. So that's super unfortunate to hear.
And as a legit shout out to them, they did play Alabama.
Okay.
And in one of their games against Alabama this year, they lost by, quote, only 40. Why do I say only 40? Because Alabama has been averaging victories with a margin of 43.27.
Wow.
So Cooney, a relatively young team, held them under their season average. So shout out to Cooney, all the players there. All right. Now let's take this bracket. Let's start with the game that I think you are very much looking forward to, UTA and Illinois.
Yes. I think everyone should be looking forward to that game. I think, these two teams have played each other close all season. This is, quite honestly, could go either way. You have absolutely no idea which way this is going to go. UTA is 2-1 against Illinois, and I think all of the games have been like super close, within 10 points probably. So it's probably going to be the closest game we see at this national tournament, which is exciting. I think it's going to be a great semifinal game. Some things to look for. I think you got to look towards the end of the game for this one. They're going to play each other close the entire way. They have pretty elite scorers on both sides. They both play, pretty good defense on both ends of the court. It's going to be a close game. I have no expectations that this is a blowout either way. So I think it'll be very interesting to see who is able to pull it out in the end. If it's a 2, 3, 4 point game at the end, which team is going to be able to fight through that and play an end game really, really well, whether you're winning or losing when you go into that end game situation, which team has the composure to stick with it. And I think that's going to be really, really, really fun to watch.
All right. I will now provide the most irrelevant part of the show, which is my thoughts on the game. All right. So this is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
First of all, you got UTA.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Elodie Tessier, how she plays and she gets in the faces of people and she's just a pest. UTA is also playing with having gone a year with having the men's team from UTA being the champs. Okay. They had to sit there and watch the men's team win last year and be on campus with that team. So the mental aspect, I think they've got some fire in their belly to try to at least get to the championship. Sure. I think that's a big deal. However, you got Illinois.
Yep.
First of all, Illinois got a secret weapon that most people don't know about. They've been playing their practices with this person who's not on the team, who's this incredible superstar. I don't know if you know about this, but this Kaitlyn Eaton has been practicing with Illinois. That might be an unfair advantage. And, given that Kaitlyn is a fan of the Houston Astros, unfair things really probably aren't a problem to her. So that is one big thing. But two, my understanding is they got a couple people on that team who are trying out for Team USA.
Yes, quite a few, actually.
So they got a few who are trying out. Yeah. They have at least one who tried out last time around and didn't make it. Mm-hmm. My hunch is last year at these nationals, Ranley Clayton on Illinois came pretty close to making that team because of how she played at nationals.
Yes.
Had Lindsay Zerbrug not made that last shot, I'm betting Ranley. Just so we're recording this, just so you know. This is going to be seen by other people. I was in the middle of a roll too. That's
I'm
all right.
so sorry.
That's all right. All right. Had Lindsay not made that shot, I bet Ranley gets MVP.
Yeah,
He makes a
absolutely.
shot. So now I'm thinking the ladies on Arizona. I'm sorry. I've got Arizona that I'm talking about. I'm thinking that I meant to say Illinois and I said Arizona. I'm thinking these ladies don't want to go to the final game again and lose. That had to hurt last year. That was a big deal. I would take Illinois because of that, but I think it's going to be close. And my thoughts are irrelevant. So all right.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the preliminary game, Wisconsin Whitewater and Arizona.
Yes. Yeah, this is gonna be another good one. It's a play-in game to get to a semifinal. Illinois would have been in the same position had Cooney been able to come. So it's a big game for them. I mean, that's a huge game for both teams. Is whoever wins that game gets to go to a semifinal, which is kind of the cool thing about women's nationals is you get one game and you're there, you're in the semis. If I have to pick a team who I think is going to win this one, I think Arizona will win. Arizona has some pretty good athletes on their team, and Whitewater has like a pretty young team. They don't have much of a bench. I think they have one player that sits on their bench. They just don't have what they need to have to make themselves a run right now at nationals. But that, to be said, is they're building for next year. This is a good building opportunity for Whitewater. I think Arizona is ready right now for this moment, and they have Emily Gustafson. This team has actually been together for quite a long time. I don't think they've lost anybody, and they've only added more talent. So they'll be a tough team to beat. And honestly, I think Arizona could be a sleeper in this tournament. That's kind of how I view them going forward. So
Here's the thing about Wisconsin Whitewater that people don't know. I'll give you again inside information. First of all, they got a young coach. I think he's getting underestimated, but you've got Maida McCabe.
Yep.
Maida McCabe's got some fire in their belly. Why? I think I accidentally gave it to her because we had an interview, and the whole interview, I was trying to convince her to change her name, the pronunciation of her name, to Maida, and she did not find that enjoyable or entertaining. She was actually aggravated by that.
Yeah.
And you know what I did? I kept calling her Maida. So maybe Wisconsin Whitewater and Maida, don't call me Maida, McCabe might come through. But I think for the reasons I had alluded to earlier, Arizona with their players, you've got Emily, you've got Abby, who are trying to make the national team. I think that's going to be a big deal to them to play well. They advance to Alabama. Can they pull off the big upset against Alabama?
Yeah, that's going to be the question for the whole tournament, right? Can anyone pull an upset on Alabama? My thought process watching this Alabama team is 9 times out of 10, Alabama probably pulls it off. But like, if you can capitalize on the things that we talked about before of eliminating turnovers, keeping them outside of the paint and making them do something different that they are not used to doing all season, I think everybody has a chance of upsetting them. But you have to make sure that you play your best game and they play their worst game. And that is certainly possible, but it will be very, very difficult. Like I said, they have so many national team members, which means they have so much experience. This team has been together for a very long time. I don't think they've had anyone really graduate from that team for a few years. And when you have that much experience together, you're only gonna get better and better and better. So certainly possible, but when we look at that semifinal of presumably Arizona against Alabama, my pick is definitely going to be Alabama going to that national championship game.
This is what I can envision. I envision Emily Gustafson having the game of her life
Me too.
because she wants to be on Team USA and everybody's going to be there. I'm betting Coach Christina Schwab is going to be there. And this is essentially a tryout for her. And then I could see them coming through.
Mhm.
But then you might think that they would have a letdown should they play Illinois or UTA. I think, however, UTA or Illinois might come into that overconfident and might come into that not as fully mentally prepared. Might be even a letdown that they don't get to play Alabama.
Yes.
So you could see Arizona winning this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I now bring you the striptease part of the show. My pick for the winner. All right. Wait, we might need some striptease music here. I might be forcing you to sing. All right. I go with, this is cost some money here. Pull this off. I might have to stand up. I go with, of course, Alabama. Come on. It has to be Alabama. Am I
Yeah.
crazy? They're beating teams by 43.27 points per game.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick Alabama winning this national championship, of course, but I'm always going to root for the underdog. I don't know if anyone's going to pull it off. I am, rooting for an upset, but that Alabama team, I can't say it enough. They are so good right now, and they want it. They want to win championships every single year that they possibly can, and this year they're not going to stop. They're not going to slow down for anybody, and teams are going to have to play to their level. And if they don't do it, I'm not sure the national championship game is going to even be close, but I think that should be other teams' goals. Play them close and try to get them into some sort of in-game situation. They don't have a lot of experience there because they haven't gotten close to an in-game situation in any of their games thus far. So maybe the other teams have a leg up if they can get them there and keep it close throughout, and maybe Alabama makes some mistakes that there at the end to cause the upset. But I think you're going to be hard pressed to beat this Alabama team. They're going to have to beat themselves.
Well, I appreciate you continuing to speak while I attempted to put my clothes back on.
Yeah, of course.
All right. There you have it. Our breakdown of the bracket. I even got a shirt for this occasion. Yes, I am a proud owner of an Alabama wheelchair basketball shirt, which is a little sweaty right now. All right. Let's move on. Next segment of the show. Kaitlyn's clarification. It's another big fan favorite of the show. All right, this is where you clarify something. And as a person who has played in this tournament, this national championship, tell us as what to expect here that's a little different than before. As someone who's won, what was it, 3 times or 4 times? How many times did you win this?
I didn't win at all.
2 times?
Ever, but I've
one
been
time.
twice.
How many times did you win?
I wish I could say twice, but
so what you're telling me is that the number of collegiate national championships that you have is the same as what I have.
Yep. Yes.
And we're calling you the expert. That's all right. That's all right. You're what we got. We got to deal with it. That's okay. That's okay. All right. So talk to us. Tell us what is what should they expect that is different about this tournament than others?
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest things that's super different for the teams going in is just the amount of games that you're going in playing. With the women's league being so small right now, you're essentially going into a national tournament expected to play maybe 2 games. And they are the 2 biggest games of your life. You're expected to play in a semi and then a final. That's the ultimate goal, is to start in a semi and then get to the final. And so it's win or go home, basically. And that's so much different than all of our other tournaments. Wheelchair basketball, you go to tournaments and you play, 4 games essentially, and you might play the same team twice. So
that's a good point, because when I got into this and I would see that there were tournaments amongst the season, my mind was thinking, all right, you're going to play a team, you lose, you're home. But they're tournaments, but they're not elimination tournaments.
Correct.
This is.
Yeah, so there's no bracket in any of our other tournaments. It's not played tournament style. And so you can play a team twice and you have the opportunity to fix any mistakes that you made in the first game going into that second game. And so there's less pressure in all of the other tournaments because a loss doesn't really do anything other than potentially determine your seeding going into nationals. And so this tournament is basically the only tournament you go to that's full of a ton of pressure. And if you've never played against pressure, then that's going to be something different. You also have a lot more free time in these tournaments, which is something that I don't think a lot of collegiate girls are used to having. And so understanding like how you need to treat your body and what you need to do to stay focused in all of that free time that you have going into your next game. Do you need to do any kind of treatment? Do you need to like lay in bed? Do you need to like get your mind off of the game so you're not thinking about it and overthinking it? In regular tournaments, you generally have a game, you have like time off for lunch, and then you have another game, and then you have time for dinner, and then you're going to bed.
Is the Wisconsin Whitewater and Arizona game, is that on Friday? And is the winner of that playing Alabama on Friday as well? Or is it Friday, Saturday, and then the championship is Sunday?
Nope, I believe it's Friday.
So that team is playing 2 games in one day.
Yes, whoever.
So you're going to go play Alabama after
Yeah.
having played. Yeah, I am now feeling a little bit more confident in my t-shirt.
Well, looking at it that way, it could be a detriment to Alabama. They're going to have a bunch of free time on Friday, and whoever plays that morning game Friday is going to get a warm-up game, essentially, and get all of the kinks out. They're going to get pushing. They're going to be in their chairs. They're going to keep their minds fresh on, the sport at hand. And
This is why we have you here. This is the expertise. Yes.
And it's even tougher for Alabama because they're at home. And so they have all of the other stressors of, oh, my apartment isn't clean. Oh, I had class this morning if they don't get the day off. And sometimes being the home team may be harder than traveling because when you travel, all you have to think about is basketball.
Yeah.
Alabama will be at home. They'll be with their friends. They'll be, maybe their families are in town, whoever. You never know what's going on. So that could be a detriment to Alabama. I'm not sure it will be, but it could potentially be, and it could be a great warm-up game for whoever wins that game between Arizona and Whitewater. And they honestly get a little bit lucky because they have less free time. So they have less time to think about it. They have less time to overthink it. They have less time to get nervous. Whereas all of the other teams are going to have a lot more time to start thinking about what they need to do going into their games.
Gotcha. All right. That was phenomenal analysis from someone who has not won a national championship. That's all right. But she's got a bronze medal. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So I ask you this now. We move on to the final segment here, which might actually be the fan favorite.
Yes.
We should do a top 10 list of fan favorites of our show here. But all right. Eaton with Eaton. Eaton with Eaton. Now, I have been asked if that sound that comes with Eaton is you. And I tell people, yes.
Oh, thank you.
So, yes, we would just recorded you and put it in there. That's what we did. All right. And then the little belch, that's you as well. All right. Yeah. So, all right. Talk to us. What should the fans be eating for this national championship?
I haven't been down to Alabama in quite some time, but I will say the big fan favorite for us, and it's not really food, but the Alabama gym used to and may still have a Smoothie King inside of it, which was by far all of the athletes' favorite thing to have after a game. It was convenient. It was right there. And who doesn't love a good smoothie?
A good smoothie.
We'll have to ask the Alabama girls if that's still there, but if it is still there, I highly recommend going to getting a smoothie from
Okay.
Smoothie King at the gym.
At the gym. All right. I may offer a backup.
Okay.
If you're heading to Alabama, I don't know how you go to Alabama and not have some grits. You got to have grits, some little grits in Alabama. Yes. Texas has their barbecue. Alabama has their grits. Yeah, I think barbecue's a little better, but have a little smoothie, have a little grits, maybe get them confused, mix them together. There you go. All right. So smoothie, maybe some grits, and you're in for a wonderful day of eating with Eaton. All right, that is it. That's our national championship pregame show.
Yes.
Enjoy the games.